Hi, welcome to High Road to You. This is Mark Stouffer, and in this video, I want to help you question authority and question authority with confidence. Now, I want to tell you a story. I had a meniscus tear, and whenever I'm involved with anything, this happened to be a health issue, and I was pulling back from things that I'm very passionate about, and I share in this video nutrition, physical, and social activity every day. That provides a foundation to give you resiliency to overcome challenges. Well, the physical aspect was being, an issue because, I couldn't surf and cycle and hike and all the things that I love to do because I had a meniscus tear. And so it was really disrupting my life, and I knew I had to do something. If I irritated, I could limp around for 3 or 4 or 5 days and putting ice on it and wrapping it, and it just became a time-consuming, very disruptive issue in my life. So as I immersed myself in YouTube content, whenever you're challenged with anything, I immerse myself in YouTube University, and you try to understand the vernacular, have the visual understanding of what you're having to deal with. So after spending quite a bit of time on YouTube, I got an MRI on my knee, and I saw an orthopedic surgeon. And while in that visit, the surgeon looked at the MRI and he says, okay, you have a meniscus tear. We'll go ahead and outpatient next week and we'll cut it out. And I said, well, hold on. I'd like to consider fixing it. He goes, well, I don't specialize in that. And I said, well, maybe you can refer me to a specialist who does. And, he was really taken by that, because he said, oh, I don't know how much that's going to help you, but, I'll refer you to a specialist. And he did. And the specialist looked at the same MRI. And as he's looking at this and he's showing me where the tear starts and where it ends and where it's located, he says, Mark, there's 6 tears, 3 I can fix and 3 I cannot, which I knew, having done my research on YouTube. And he says, unfortunately, you have one of the 3 tears I can't fix, and all I can offer you is this wedge. He goes, but, we don't cut them out anymore because that's old school thinking. That just puts you closer to a knee replacement, because you cut that meniscus out, you're cartilage on cartilage, then bone on bone, and then, you're closer to a knee replacement. And I was very thankful that I didn't listen to the first orthopedic surgeon, and that I insisted on seeing a specialist. And then I'm also thankful that the specialist, would educate me even further. But a lot of times that may not even happen. So, you have to be cautious. You have to be assertive and understand as much as you possibly can, immersing yourself in whatever that challenge you're facing. Now, I left there a little disappointed, but also thankful. He gave me a wedge for my shoe, and it took the weight off the inner knee. But it wasn't long before I started immersing myself in stem cell procedures. And I was really excited about it. And so I went up north to a place called Regenix in Northern California, and I showed him my MRI. And what I was impressed with was this. They said, if we look at your MRI and you're too far along, if anybody's too far along, in the damage, we won't do anything, because we are doing everything we can. They're on the front line of trying to get acknowledged by the insurance industry, right? And they're on the cutting edge of innovation of what works and what's preventative care. And so I think that if they were given a medical code and acknowledged by the insurance industry, it would disrupt the orthopedics industry at such a level that it would really be damaging to the economy. So, but in that same context, we are constantly navigating, life in this kind of toxic environment where, you have to be certain that whoever you're working with is looking out for your best interest. So I'm thankful to say that I had stem cell injection in my knee. I met people that, had gone there, 10, 15 years prior while I was in my visits, and they would say, they're, physicians or whatnot say, oh, absolutely not. They don't have a medical code. They don't, they're quacks or whatever the case might be. And all of them said, it was the best thing they did. And one of them was a downhill competitive skier. And she says, I was so passionate about my sport, but I couldn't continue that sport unless I got my knee fixed. And she came in and she goes, now I'm back 10 years later to get my other knee fixed. And So it was very impressive. There was a power of consistency, wherever, whatever environment I found myself, there was a power of consistency that I was doing the right thing. And YouTube dramatically helps in that process. And I want to say that most all my kids, had some accident, one thing or another. My daughter was really competitive in volleyball, and she got her shoulder, not stem cell, but platelet injections, and she's doing great. And my other son, and then my youngest son, who was 19, got in a quad accident, hurt his back, and was just in pain driving down the road. Dad pull over, and he got injections, not stem cell, but platelet injections. And now what I'm learning about with Anthony Robbins, looking at a new book that he put out, I can't remember the title right now, but he has content out there talking about stem cell, because he had a snowboarding accident, really messed up his shoulder, and had chronic back issues, and basically he's doing amazing. And so I can't say enough about it. I have no affiliation with Regenix. I highly recommend them. They did amazing for me and my family. And ultimately, I am looking at any future joint issues that I might have is going to Panama, because they take stem cell from an umbilical cord and inject it into the damaged area. So there's some very strong promise out there. So I guess the main point is this, is that whatever challenges that you face, immerse yourself in that content to understand the vernacular, to have a clear image of what you're dealing with. And that way that when you come across those professionals in the industry, that they're looking out for your best interest. And with that, I hope this gives you the confidence and the courage and the inspiration to confront authority when you need to. All right. I wish you well. Hi, thank you for watching this content, and most importantly, for being inspired and encouraged to take action. Nothing happens without action. I would highly recommend that you meditate every day as you walk, as you are being social in your environments, as you're nutritionally healthy, to manifest what will make a difference in your life. Share how you overcame, the dramas and the toxicity of your life, and not just holding yourself accountable, but holding other people accountable. And boundaries are constant, never ending. For every new level, there's a new devil. And you're constantly going to have to put boundaries on yourself and others and be accountable. Be accountable. So I hope that the content inspired you, encouraged you. There's a lot of links, a lot of resources that will help you overcome, build a foundation, and take the actions. Share your comments. Share your successes. Share those milestones, as small as they might be. And with that, I hope this message finds you well.